Hey, welcome to Moyna Bass Fishes. We're here in Virginia and the James River. The James River is literally like right that way, about 100 yards. But actually, that's what they call the Chickahominy. Chickahominy. Hominy. Anyways, our tournament is actually to get to this backwater right here on the Chickahominy. I don't know, it's literally like 3/4 of a tank of gas or so, some ridiculous thing like that from our takeoff. But there's no like close camping near what they call Osborne Landing. So you got to camp. It's literally like a 45-minute drive one way to get, with my truck and boat to launch at the takeoff launch. But anyways, this is a nice park here, man. It's really peaceful. It's a very nice evening right now. But anyway, so the James River. Before I even get to the James River, I got a little griping to do, and I just want to pose this to the field of people out there, the audience. Do you think that our roads, our interstate systems, are like more bumpy, more potholed than ever before? It just seems like in the last few years, I'm just running into certain roadways that are it's like driving on the moon, and the end result is like bent axles on my trailer. So it's not good, and you can't really a lot of times you just can't avoid them because you're in a line of traffic, and I'm not a tailgater by any means, but all of a sudden I'll see the vehicle in front of me will go over whatever it is, and I'll see it there, but I really don't. You can't really just take sudden evasive maneuvers with this truck, camper, and boat. You really can't. You could move it a little bit, but you can't just suddenly jerk the wheel one way or the other. It's just not a good idea. And plus, you just have a second or two before you hit it, and you really don't have time to quick flip over into another lane or anything. So I end up hitting a lot of these darn things, and it's not good. And then some of these roadways, it's just like that's the way it is. It's just constant boom, 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 boom. So it seems like it's worse than ever to me. I don't know about you, but like to hear some opinions on that. That's for sure. Because is it just me? Am I the only one that feels this way? But all right, anyways, back to the James River. This is going to be an MLF Tacklewarehouse Pro Circuit tournament. It's the 5th tournament. I'm 38th in the Angler of the Year points on this circuit. We got to be top 48 to make the championship. Got to be in the top 10 to qualify for the Bass Pro Tour, which was my primary goal for fishing this circuit. That goal is in serious jeopardy, being that I'm only in 38th. However, you never know what can happen if I can, post a couple of top 10s in these last 2 tournaments. So that's what you got to do, and just see where the chips fall. I've been to the James River twice. Once was the FLW Championship in 2003. Didn't do very good. I think that was a September tournament, and I'll never forget that. I remember driving out here. It was a September tournament. I remember driving out here, and it was Labor Day. It was actually Labor Day. Yeah, that's right, Labor Day. And I remember driving from Minnesota through Wisconsin, and I hit the holiday weekend traffic of people going back towards Chicago. I hit it like 10 miles before. While I was 10 miles still into Wisconsin. It took me like 5 hours to get from like 10 miles from the Wisconsin-Illinois border all the way through Chicago, and then out the other side into, to like, what do they call that? Gary, Indiana, that area. It was the most nightmarish stop and go run I think I've ever had. Oh my God. So anyhow, that's enough of that little story. back to the facts here. The other time I was here was a few years ago on a Bass Open. That was an August tournament. I think it was early August. I did finish in the money in that one. We get 2 days to practice here. I think what I learned from those tournaments is, this is an earlier tournament. So what I learned in those tournaments, I really can't apply a whole lot here, but you never know. It's funny how, I just spent like the last couple hours just going through some tackle and stuff and getting my rod situated. And it was kind of remarkable how of all the rods I got rigged up from the Mississippi River where I was last Thursday for the Champions Tour, I literally only changed just a few actual rods, actual baits that were on the rods. I just let a lot of it just ride. And I got swim jigs I had tied on. I'm letting them ride. Although I did tie up a heavier one on one of them. I like the all-terrain, the heaviest one. I do like that, but I also have the lightest one still rigged up. So I got two of them swim jigs rigged up in black blue. Then I still have my horny tool rigged up. I still got a buzzbait I never really used it much in the tournament, but in practice I did on the Mississippi. I got that rigged up. I've got the frog rigged up that caught a lot of fish there at the Champions Tour. I've got, just the spinner baits, the wacky rigs, the Nikos, the Texas rig worm, all the punching creature bait. I got all that stuff. Is pretty much set to go for the Mississippi. So, and that's how, and I love river fishing. It's just, I like the shallow water. I like fishing shallow. I really do. And the James River, I just feel like it should fall into, I feel confident. I feel like I should catch them here. I do well on the Potomac River, which is just a couple hours from here. That river also feeds into Chesapeake Bay, which is the James River's does. So we're looking at similar fisheries between the James and the Potomac as far as food source and bait. So what the bass eat here in the James is probably the same as what they eat in Potomac. So I've tied on a lot of baits that I like, the black blue jig. I've done well on the Potomac with that. I did tie up a second Texas rig, like more of a swimming worm, because I can work on the Potomac. And there was one popper that I liked that I tied up for here that I've done well on the Potomac. So, but anyways, I don't know, I'm going to try, because I've been to the Potomac a bunch in June, so I'm going to try to utilize the knowledge from the Potomac and from June fishing there and try to see if I can't massage that into what's going on here a little bit. Who knows, it may not translate, but I would be shocked, really surprised if it wouldn't. But you still got to get around them. We get 2 days to practice. There's a lot of water out here, a lot of tributaries. And I'm still unsettled as far as what I want to do. Because right here at the Chickahominy where I'm staying, it'd be so convenient. Just the launch is like right across this roadway here from my campsite. There's the rig. Okay, and then the launch is just right across the street. So that, it'd be so convenient just for practice, just to put her right there and just fish right out here. But this is a long run from where we're fishing. So on the other hand, it's like, maybe do I want to drive up to where takeoff is towards Richmond and just fish around there and practice and in the tournament. Those are some decisions I've yet to make. I have studied some tide charts. This is a tidal river. The water level goes up and down. There's 2 high tides and 2 low tides in a 24-hour period. Or it's like a 25-hour period, whatever, close enough. So that's kind of something I've got to work into my game plan. And there's always 2 thoughts on that. Do you just try to find an area with a lot of fish and just not worry about the tides, knowing that perhaps during the low tide the bite will be better, and at high tide it might be more of a grind? Or because the low tide is like the ultimate tide. That's when that's when the fish really get easy to catch. So the other consideration then is, do you try to just jump around this fishery and just try to keep yourself in that window of low tideness, which is actually going to be very possible for this tournament, because I was looking at the tides for Thursday, and the low tide's going to hit right here where I'm at in upriver. Right here where I'm at, it's going to hit about 10 a.m. Then more towards Chesapeake Bay, it'll be a little bit earlier. So a guy could literally run all the way out here, and then, see, I'm thinking if a guy had 4 good sections to fish from out here all the way to takeoff, you could be in that low tide window the whole time, because you could fish up here for 2 hours until it got to be low tide. Like out here, you could fish here till like 10:30 or so, and then take off, run 15 miles that way, and you'll be back into a low tide on an outgoing tide. You still have let's say high tide, or let's say low tide's here at 10 in the morning. It's still good fishing even a half hour after dead low. The water's starting to come back in. There's still like there's still an hour period there of incoming tide. That's pretty good. So just keep that in mind. But so if I had an area up here, and then maybe an area halfway between here and takeoff, and then at takeoff, because at takeoff the low tides are going to be around 1-ish in the afternoon, 1:30, something like that. So if you fished here till like 10:30, and then picked a spot midway, and fished there till like 12 maybe, and then got up towards takeoff and fished there, I guess you'd want to fish there the rest of the day. You catch the low tide, but then you'd probably want a sneaky high tide spot somewhere near takeoff too. So I'm just really rambling now as far as, but that's would be a strategy a guy could incorporate. The problem is, in 2 days, how can I find these great areas to fish here, midway, and all the way up there? I'm gonna have to sit down and think about this, certainly, because my nature is to find an area, and this is like on Potomac River, and just in general, I like to just settle into an area and just fish it inside and out. I don't like to jump around a whole lot, so that's kind of my nature. So I'm not one of these running the tide kind of a personalities, but I don't know. I think this tournament might set up well for that. It's just not me though. That's just not me. So, anyways, I think I haven't even looked at the weather forecast. That's another thing I got to factor in. But I think the tide kind of is probably rules over the weather situation. They both have an influence, but I would say the tide is more influential, and then the weather secondary to what the tide does as far as getting these fish to feed. So, all right, that's about it from here. It's so nice out here. I just feel like I'm not telling you guys something, but there ain't much else to say. So anyhow, if you got any information on these roadways or any statistics on what's going on with these interstates, I'd like to know about it. I'm not going to do anything about it, sadly. I'm one of those that'll just complain and not do nothing. Sorry, guilty. In this situation, not all situations do I complain and not do anything. There's times when I complain and do something, but in this situation, probably not. So anyhow, over and out.